So playing cards have a very long history. Playing cards as a whole apparently came from China around 9th century BCE, which is before Common Era, or 9th century AD, which is Anno Domini for people who aren't like as caught up to date with their history terminology. USPCC itself was founded back in 1867, so that was 157 years of history. So if you want to find out how or when your deck was printed, it's pretty difficult, but luckily USPCC actually has been thoroughly documenting their decks, so it makes sort of dating their decks a lot easier. And by dating I mean like knowing when the deck was like printed, not like a dating sim. But anyways, for other companies you won't have this option, but if you have a USPCC deck and you just want to find out like when your deck was printed, then I'll explain to you how you can actually date a deck of playing cards. And to make this sort of more interactive and immersive, I'll be doing it alongside you guys. So I have this nice deck of vintage new fan backs, so I'll walk you through the process as we go through with this one. So to begin, let's just start off with a broader and more, less reliable method, and then we can slowly narrow it down. So when did this deck start printing and when did it stop printing? So we're talking about print runs. So if it's a newer deck, then it's going to be a lot easier because you can just go on the internet and you're like, oh, when was this deck printed? And usually the internet will be able to tell you. But for older decks, you'll have a harder time. Luckily, we have, people like Pip Nosher or Jason McKinstry, there we go, who keep track. So if you have like a vintage bicycle deck, you can go to bicyclecards.org. So obviously I'll walk you through this. So if we have a, just as an example, since we have a bicycle new fan back, so here we can have an entire catalog of every single bicycle, mostly every single USPCC deck that is vintage. And bicycle new fan backs are number 43, I think, right? I apparently lost it. But let's just try and find bicycle new fan backs. Okay, 56. So this is bicycle new fan backs. We just click on it. And then now, right at the top, we can see that it was introduced in 1891. So it first started printing in 1891. And then we can find out that it actually stopped printing in 1980. So now we have a pretty broad range of 1891 to 1980. But for other decks, for example, you can just go and look at it, and then you can see that it's also going to be the first couple of lines as well, so you don't have to worry about that. But let's just stick with our bicycle new fan backs. So now our range is currently 1891 to 1980. So it's not very helpful because that's a huge range, but because we know it's not like a Dan and Dave reprint, we know that it is, from those ranges. The next thing that we can look at is actually the Ace of Spades design. Like every single company, USPCC will change designs over the years. The aces and the jokers are usually the ones that will change the most. So if you go on, again, bicyclecards.org, you can actually see when the aces and when the jokers have actually been, put in print. An easier way would be, once you found your design on the webpage, you can see all of these numbers up on the top over here. Numbers and letters, actually. So this is US8AA, US8B, US8D, US8C, US8E. All right, so this appears on every single design as well. So you have US8C over here, but since again we're going to concentrate on bicycle new fan backs. So what this is actually the various different aces and jokers that USPCC has put out over the years. And these are the aces and jokers that have been found with this particular back design. So US8AA has been found to be from 1891 to 1894. But because as we can see from our deck, the joker and the ace is pretty new, so we can go and look at the newer ones. So it's in chronological order from oldest to newest. So if we take a look at the at US8C, you can see that this is, once I get this is what it looks like. But ours doesn't have Russell and Morgan factories, so we can rule out the fact that it is not 1906 and 1925. So if we go to US 8E, we can find the ace that we currently have, as well as the joker that we currently have. So we can conclude that we have US 8E, and that means that we now have a range of, well, 1926 to present, which factoring in from the previous range. So we went from a range of 1891 to 1980 to a range of 1926 to 1980. So this helps narrow it down as well. And then we have the seals. So throughout the years, again, much like the aces and the jokers, USPCC seals their decks with a variety of designs. And every couple of years, USPCC, sorry, you try saying that fast like 5 times in a row, it's hard. USPCC will give the decks a new seal. The best example that I can give that most people will probably know is just blue seals and black seals. I mean, that's the most recent example that everyone can think of. But if you actually look at bicyclecards.org's list, you can actually see that they actually have a catalog of every single seal that USPCC has ever used. So here you can see that this is the oldest one from 1894 to 1896. Well, obviously there's the stamp seals, tax stamps rather. Over here you can realize that there's even more from 1917 to 1919. And yeah, you just gotta see what the seal of your deck of cards is. 1919. So if we take a look and we try and find what your seal actually looks like, as you can see that some of them will look a bit similar, which is sort of annoying. So you do have to take a note of just some notable features of your seal. So if we take a look at the bicycle new fan back that I have, you can see that there's a couple of key features that makes it pretty notable. One, it's long, it has the 4 suits on the 4 corners, and it has a giant 1. So if we take a look at it, this is pretty similar. So if you see this is from 1929 to 1940, but it is not this because this has a 10 in the center. So it's not quite that, but if we actually go lower, you can actually see that there's a 1. There's this one with a giant 1, and that's the one that we're looking for. So this is the seal that we have. So now we know that it is from 1940 to 1965. So our range has shrunken down from 1926 to 1980 to now 1940 to 1965. So our range is becoming smaller. And then the way to truly narrow it down on a single year is actually the Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades actually has a dating system ingrained into it. So you actually look at the numbers and the letters beneath of the ace, it starts with a letter. This letter represents when the deck was printed. But because these letters actually repeat, we can't definitively say which year the letter stands for until we narrow those years down. That's why I need to go through all of those processes until we can arrive at an actual safe year list. Because if we just started off with this, well, the range would have been so massive that it could have been anything. So if we take a look at the ace and the letter, it's H. But because, well, normally the deck was printed from 1980 to 1890, sorry, I keep mixing up those, 1890 to 1980, the years 1905, the years 1926, 1946, 1966, all of those years could have been valid. But because we did our research and shrunk down our range to 1940 to 1965, using the aces as well as the seals, we know for a fact that it can't be 1905, it can't be 1926, and it can't be 1966. So because we did all of that, we know for a fact that this deck and the H that is printed on the ace represents 1946. So now we can definitively say that this deck was printed in 1946. And that's when this new fan back was actually printed. Obviously, I can show every single ace, every single joker, every single seal, but if you want, I'll actually link the webpage, so bicyclecards.org, below in the comments, so then you could go ahead and look for yourself, and you could also date back your playing cards as well. But yeah, I hope that this actually gives you an idea as to how you can track your playing card's printing date. It's just a shame that other companies don't really have sort of a similar coding system. So a lot of playing cards that are just not USPCC have just sort of, I don't know, it's just really hard to track down when those decks were printed. Or maybe they do and we just don't do enough research, or maybe I don't do enough research, or maybe there's some other like person out there that can tell us definitively when certain decks were printed. I don't know, but for now that's going to be it for me. I hope this video at least helped you sort of understand how you can actually trace back to when your deck was printed. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. Stay healthy, stay safe, and see you guys next time.